All right, welcome back. In this video, we're going to be going through a industry overview briefly to give you a sense of kind of our company and the function that we play. So, two main things you're going to have to look at. The first is executive search. That's what our company does, and then from there, management consulting. That's the industry that we work within. Okay, so let's first start with management consulting. A couple big things key things you want to understand. We work a lot with the Big Four advisory firms, right? So the Big Four plus, because there's a couple more there. So let's go ahead and drop down and take a look at that. So the Big Four, for you to know, is KPMG, Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Ernst& Young. And then Accenture is a very large advisory firm as well. All these companies are accounting. These first four companies are accounting firms, okay, and they also have an advisory or management consulting line of business. And Accenture has the largest management consulting line of business, and is not necessarily considered to be, again, one of the big four. Okay, so that's just for you to keep have an understanding around. Next, let's go ahead and look at some of the strategy slash Ivy League. So a way to look at these firms here is you can consider these firms, these consulting or advisory firms, as like the Ivy Leagues, and what they're doing is purely strategy work. So longer term, um, longer term strategy work that's really revolves around the what, as opposed to the consulting on this end, which is going to be really talking about the how. How are you going to implement things? Also known as the transformational aspect. So again, these Boston Consulting Group, McKinsey and Company, Bain and Company, these guys do really heavy on the strategy side, probably the most prestigious consulting groups, and so they're not necessarily direct competitors to these firms here to the left, but they're absolutely in the same industry. Okay, so briefly, let's look at functions. We kind of touched on this already. So again, there's your strategy. There's transformation, there's delivery and implementation, and then there's your business process outsourcing work. So it kind of the work tends to flow in this order. But again, strategy is going to be talking about the what. It's going to be longer term. Transformation is going to be talking about the how to actually implement some of these strategies on a shorter term perspective. And then the delivery is the actual delivery of the new operating models or whatever it is um, that you came up with in your transformation. And then business process outsourcing is a way to make the delivery actually happen, utilizing other companies that may be cheaper to use than having the folks at these companies do it themselves. Okay, so I hope that some of that made sense. If a lot of it didn't make sense, it's all right. You don't need to know all that for now. Lastly, a big key piece for you to understand is financial services. Okay, financial services is the industry that the management consultants that we are recruiting work within. So that is to say that everybody that is at these companies that we work with, KPMG, Deloitte, all these guys, right? These guys are going and doing consulting work, right? So they're doing these different things: strategy, transformation, delivery, business process outsourcing, for financial services companies. Okay, so our clients are going to be some of these guys, and these companies' clients are going to be companies that are either banks, insurers, or capital market companies, your hedge funds and other similar types of companies. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. If it doesn't, no big deal. You'll learn more of that as we go. Now let's go ahead and take a look at executive search. Right. This is our function as a company. Way to look at it is there is a first third, middle third, and a final third in terms of the end-to-end processes, right? So it starts with being able to identify a good candidate, or a person that would be a good fit for one of our clients over here, right? From there, you have an initial engagement where we're reaching out to these guys and speaking to them. And then you have a secondary engagement where we're deciding what the best plan of action is. So let's look at that. So identifying candidates, continuously finding great new candidates who are a fit for positions within our market now or down the line, to update our system with these candidates. That's some of the objectives in identifying candidates. Next, methods for doing that. So we have a database here. We use LinkedIn, Dropbox, and referrals. Okay. The outcomes for identifying candidates is going to be a completed targeted searches. So be able to create targeted searches and then a larger list of 4 to 5 level candidates, or 4 to 5 just means really good candidates that could potentially work for some of our clients. Okay, so that's breaking down identifying candidates. Looking at the initial engagements. All right. The objective here is to convert these identified candidates into engaged candidates. Okay, what does that mean? Well, the methods of doing this are messaging people using emails, LinkedIn connections, LinkedIn messages, or by making phone calls. Phone calls being, never mind the display here, some excitement news there. Um, Phone calls being headhunts and candidate calls. Okay, we'll explain kind of more what those are later. But the outcome, right, of the initial engagement is to, um, again, candidates are converted to engaged, meaning there are people that we've found with all the different methods, but now there are people that we've spoken to at some capacity. Right? That is the outcome or goal for initial engagement. And then candidates continue to be chased for a later time with same or different methods. So an outcome of after you've tried reaching out to some people, that you would have a list full of people that you haven't yet engaged, and you are still working on trying to connect with those folks initially. All right, and so lastly, let's go ahead and take a look at secondary engagement. The objectives here, right? To determine whether to move forward into the submittal process or to keep in touch for a later time. The methods for that are, primarily going to be phone calls, but also sometimes in messaging we're able to determine if we're going to move forward or if we are going to part as friends and keep in touch for a later time. The outcomes, either A, make a decision to move forward in the process now, B, we decide to keep in touch for a later time, or C, we're not really sure, we're uncertain regarding and requiring further follow-up to be able to determine what if we should move forward now or wait till a later date. All right, so that is breaking down the first third, okay? And looking at the middle third, okay? From there, the middle third is everything from the actual submittal process to the interviewing process with our candidates with our clients, right? So let's look at submittals briefly. That consists of dubbing, the write-up in the portal, sending the actual CV. So these are the different things we have to do in order to successfully send a candidate to one of our clients, right? To submit one of our identified candidates to one of our clients. Okay. Don't mind the red lines for now. Interviewing process. Okay. In the interviewing process, there's typically 4 to 6 interviews these guys will go through. So some of the things that we're continuously doing on our end as recruiters is we're coordinating interviews, we're preparing our candidates for going into those interviews, and we're getting feedback and giving feedback based off what our clients say about how the interview went. Okay, so that's some of the key factors in the middle third as it relates to the interviewing process. Right, very, very important. And so the idea, right, for somebody first coming on board, is that they would focus on just the first third elements, starting with these first two, and then next moving into secondary engagement. And then the idea is that once you progress, you will then move into doing the end-to-end from the first third components all the way to the middle third. So that's what this line is. As you progress, you'll then go from identifying candidates all the way through the interviewing process. In the beginning, again, you will be, sorry, bear with me here as I create one more relationship to clarify. In the beginning, you will be doing everything in the first third, and from there, you will pass off the candidate to the person that myself or somebody that's further along the line, and they'll take things from the submittal and all the way through the interviewing process. Okay, so this is a visual for you to understand the scope of your role, and then where things would pass off for the other person, and then ultimately you will then be doing end to end, where you're doing all this work. It is my theory that we can function better as a team if we separate the scope of our roles. If we have, instead of 2 people doing the end-to-end, right, 2 people doing end-to-end, you have 1 person doing the first third and the second person doing the middle third. Some typical examples that may not be the best examples, but if you think of Subway, anytime you go into Subway, the person that takes your order is going to be a different person that puts, I don't know, the toppings on your sub, and there's going to be a different person than the person that is your actual cashier. Same if you go to Chipotle. Chipotle, someone's going to take your order in the beginning and put the rice and beans on. The next person is going to do the meat. The next person is going to do, whatever the rest of the toppings. And then the next person is going to be the cashier, right? So there's different people doing that function, and from an operational process perspective, it is the most efficient way to take folks through that end-to-end process. Us as customers, if we're at Subway or Chipotle, or our candidates through the process if we are helping them in the interview process. And then the final third is everything that relates to closing once an offer is out. So we'd probably add one more box here, and it would be offer. Or what we'd actually do is probably take that and put it under here. The closing process is once an offer is out, it is in large part negotiation piece of that deal. All right, so that is to give you an idea in terms of what our company does, the end-to-end process as a recruiter, and then giving you a sense of the industry that we work in, again, which is management consulting, some of the key players in the management consulting industry, the functions that they play, and then so the players in management consulting, the functions that they play, and then the specific industry within management consulting that is our niche.